Welcome back to another episode of Health with Hashimoto's. I am so excited for you to hear from my guest. Today, I have Brea Sharron Estep. She is a former Mrs. United States in 2021. That was her title. She is a board-certified integrative health practitioner. She's a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, business coach, keynote speaker, and an author. She wrote the Holistic Health Clean Eating Cookbook. She has over a decade of experience in the health and fitness industry, and she uses her health struggles and education to teach and coach women to find the underlying root cause of their health concerns to finally get their health and body back holistically. Brea, I'm so excited that you're here because this podcast is all about getting to the root causes and helping people get their health back. So will you start out by telling us a little bit about your story? This kind of bio, it doesn't come without pain and struggles and an experience. So tell us your story.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Esther, I'm so glad to be here and just so excited to have this conversation. Yeah, how I got into integrative health truly is my story, and that's why I love talking about it, and that's why I do what I do. So I guess long story short, for me, it was a hot scorcher summer day here in North Carolina, and I had just finished my afternoon shift at work. See, I had owned a gym, and I was doing all of the things. I owned my personal training studio gym that I ran full time. I was going to school full time. I was bouncing back after just helping my mom take care of my dad, who unfortunately passed away from a brain tumor. I was doing 20 plus fitness competitions. I was coaching fitness competitions. I even had a social life, again, doing it all. Until I wasn't. So there I was standing at the bottom of the stairs after I just finished my afternoon shift at work. And it took me a little bit more than a lot of effort to get out of the car. And I remember standing there and I was looking up at the bottom of my stairs, or looking up from the bottom of my stairs. And I didn't think I could make it up the flight of stairs. I was in my 20s, in my mid 20s, and I was physically exhausted. I was dealing with chronic pain and just not feeling great. I gained 30 pounds in less than 3 months. And I was doing all of the right stuff. I owned a gym. So I was working out 6 days a week with cardio and weights. And I was eating no sugar and I was eating low carb. And again, I was doing fitness competitions. So I was doing all of the right things. And the pounds just kept pecking on. And so I was physically exhausted, but I was also mentally and emotionally exhausted, as I'm sure many of our listeners have felt as well. Because there I was trying to tell all of these women and some men too, but what to do, work out more, eat less, and, just be active. And the pounds kept pecking on. I felt like an imposter. And I took it out on anybody and everybody around me like an emotional wrecking ball. And so I got into integrative health. You probably, we heard in the bio, Mrs. United States 2021, happy, fit, and healthy. Couldn't be more grateful. But that's why I've made it my mission to do exactly what I do to help women heal holistically. So that's how I got here.
Wow. That is a huge story. And you mentioned to me earlier that you had an autoimmune condition and it is now fully in remission. I know that is the dream for so many people. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. I was diagnosed, I say, a decade plus of doctors and drugs, prescription drugs. My husband's in law enforcement, so I have to say it sounds better, but it just sounds better, all the alliteration. But yeah, I was diagnosed with, I'm going to try and remember everything for us here, thyroid adrenal hormone issues. I was dealing with estrogen lower than that, somebody postmenopausal in my 20s. So dealing with hot flashes in my 20s. That's super fun to try and explain. Scoliosis, a rare type of spina bifida, fibromyalgia, the Raynaud's that we were talking about before. Let's see, I was dealing with skin issues like skin rashes, eczema, psoriasis, kind of a mix between the two. Trying to think what else. Infertility, 7 years of infertility. And then again, hormones all over the place. So I've been diagnosed with a lot. And now I don't take any medication. And again, pretty good other than a little cranky here and there, a little sore if I work out too hard. Other than that, good to go. So super.
That is amazing. Wow. What was the biggest thing that turned your health around? Was there one thing or was it a lot of little things?
So yes and no. The one thing for me was I had tried everything. So I had tried keto. I was like, oh, let me try vegan. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me try CrossFit. Let me do intermittent fasting. So I was doing, again, literally all of the things, and all of the things that had worked before weren't working for me. It's not like I was sitting on the couch and eating Chips Ahoy and Oreo cookies. I mean, it's one thing if you're doing that and you're frustrated with your health, but and I'm sure so many of our listeners have felt the same way. Like, I'm doing all of the things. I'm not eating that bad. It's not like I'm, again, eating Chips Ahoy and Oreos and Fritos and Cheetos and Doritos and all the O's and sitting on the couch. I'm active. I'm, eating healthy. What's going on? So for me, it was figuring out that my body wasn't broken. That was number one. So our bodies are designed to heal. I'm a big person of faith. That's how what I believe God designed our bodies to heal. They're not broken. They're trying to tell us something. So we just have to know how to listen. We need to be able to listen to the whisper before our bodies start to scream. And why is because it's not the same. So yes, keto can work for some people, and I can get into that at another point in time for women after 21 days, maybe 28. It's too much stress on the body, especially women of childbearing ages. But everything takes a back burner to stress, and that's what I didn't realize. And that stress for all of us manifests differently. It's internal stress and external stress. So what affects the brain affects the gut, and what affects the gut affects the brain. So my internal stress that I was dealing with Candida bacterial yeast overgrowth and heavy metal toxicities and parasites and all of that. Yes, I was dealing with lots of external stress, but my body couldn't heal itself because I wasn't getting to the underlying root cause of exactly what's going on. So it was knowing my specific toxicities and my specific deficiencies to eliminate those toxicities, to replace those deficiencies, to get my body back to a state of equilibrium where it can heal itself, which it completely did.
That's awesome. And I love that you don't like some people in medicine, they're like a one size fits all. I love that you're not that because that's not the human body. We are all so bio individual. We're different emotionally and spiritually. We all have our own unique spot. And I love that you recognize that and honor that. So when you're working with somebody, I know in your integrative space, you talk a lot about labs and hormones and all the testing. So my audience, they're familiar with, TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, the main thyroid labs. And, side note, listener, go back to the first episode, I think maybe 3 covers labs, and we have other ones to go in depth on those things. If you're like, Esther, no, I'm not actually familiar with those. But Brea, can you tell us, let's go beyond those. What else would you look at? Why are those not enough?
Yeah. So one thing that I'll say too, and this is why I got into the integrative functional medicine side, is because my doctor would look at my labs and, oh, you're fine. Or, just eat less and work out more. I'm starving. Literally, I'm starving. Work out 6 days a week. It's my job. Like that's not working for me. Like, what else? You're fine. Your labs are fine, but I don't feel fine. So what I didn't know is blood's a homeostatic fluid. So it's going to pull from wherever it needs to in order to stay at homeostasis. So just because your labs are fine doesn't mean that they're necessarily fine. So women that are diagnosed, women that have osteoporosis, we might not actually be able to see it in the blood because the blood's pulling from where it needs to be able to stay level at homeostasis. But when we look at like a hair tissue mineral analysis, we can see that calcium depleted. So that's why I love functional medicine labs. And for hormones and thyroid, I look through actually saliva. It actually it's more stable when it gets back to the lab. It's a better read for your hormones. And also, thyroid adrenal hormones are all so related that we need to see that whole picture. I need to see everything going on. I don't, yes, yes, blood work is beneficial, and I highly, highly recommend at least annually getting your blood work, but it's only a piece of the puzzle. Let's look through saliva, and I'm looking at so let me back up just a little bit, and I'm going to kind of get nerd for our listeners here today. But everything takes a back burner to stress, and again, this is where I went wrong. But when your body's in a stressed out state, its primary focus is to produce cortisol, the inflammation hormone, which, yes, we want some of, but when we're stuck in a chronic fight or flight, that's when it becomes a problem. So again, our bodies aren't broken. They're designed to heal. If I'm getting chased by a bear, I don't want to be like, hey, Mr. Bear, hold on. I'm going to need a snack break. Hang on, Mr. Lion. I'd love to continue this chase, but I've got to take a potty break. No, everything down regulates to produce cortisol. So our immune system takes a back burner. Our digestion takes a back burner because we don't have time for a potty break or a snack break when we're getting chased by a bear. Again, our bodies aren't broken. So when our immune system, we end up getting sick. And when our digestion takes a back burner, we're not able to extract the nutrients that we need to convert T4 to T3, the usable form. We aren't able to get the selenium and the iodine and all that. We're not able to break down the healthy food properly because our digestion is downregulated. Also, when our digestion downregulates, we're not able to get rid of those toxins. And then all of that ferments in our gut. And when you like open up, I'm trying to think of something that pops like a champagne bottle. That's what happens.
Yep.
When everything ferments and then we have all of the gas and digestion issues and all of that when everything ferments. And then our sleep takes a back burner because if I'm getting chased by a bear or a lion or something, I don't want to go into a deep sleep. I can't rest, I can't recover, I can't rejuvenate. So I'm looking at all that. But also, and again, this is the key for me. What happens is when our bodies are in that stressed out state, the primary focus is to produce cortisol. But the same precursors that go to produce cortisol also go over to produce progesterone. So progesterone's our mother hormone that controls our other hormones. So especially with women, our hormones are going up and down in our luteal and follicular phases all throughout our cycle. So again, that's why blood work's not always great because yes, your blood work could be great for the luteal phase, but is it great for the follicular phase? That's why I don't always love blood work for hormones, which is again so related to thyroid. But when all of those other hormones are doing a dance and our progesterone's way too low, I'm looking at the progesterone to estrogen ratio versus just a straight out estrogen ratio, just a T3, T4, all of that stuff. In integrative health and functional medicine labs, we actually look at things before they get to be a problem. So your primary care physician, your OBGYN, and again, let me just say this too. I think doctors have our best interest at heart, exceptions to every rule. But most people go into a doctor's office and what do they want? They want a drug and a diagnosis. What's a doctor going to give to you in the maybe 10 minutes, maybe if you're lucky, 10 minutes they have with you? A drug and a diagnosis. What are they going to study? Drugs and diagnoses, because that's what most people want. But again, for people that like me that were like, oh, there's something else going on. Like, what can I do? There's not a lot. We're not able to talk about that sleep that we talked about. How's your sleep? What are you eating? We're not able to talk about all of those things. So when all of this dance is going on, we're not able to see the whole picture. How stressed is your body? We're not able to get into all that. Did that answer your question? I kind of want to change it there.
No, that was awesome. And the quote that I'm going to take away from this whole episode is listen to the whisper before your body has to yell. Like, I mean, just that one sentence. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Now I stole that. I don't remember where I stole it. So like, don't give me full credit for it. But yeah, but it makes so much sense.
Yes. Our body is always trying to communicate. So when you do the saliva test, do people do it from home or how does that work?
Yes. So everything that I do in functional medicine labs that I run are all at home. So you just spit into a tube 4 times throughout the day. I want a 4-point cortisol test. I don't want it just first thing in the morning, which honestly, if you go to your doctor's office, it's not like you just magically like, ooh, I'm here. We got to get up and drive and hopefully, brush our teeth and all of these other things before we get to the doctor's office for our blood. But when we do them at home, everything is right there. And then we just ship it off to the lab. The lab sends me the results as an integrative health practitioner, and the client and I go over those lab results together, as well as the protocols to rebalance. Again, we're eliminating those toxicities, replacing those deficiencies to get the body in a position in order to heal itself.
So if somebody came to you and say, Brea, I have Hashimoto's. I know that, my TSH was this. I'm on this medication. What else are you going to look at? Are you going to do a full hormone panel? Are you going to get hair too? Or what's the minimum? And then what's the full package? What would you want if budget wasn't an issue?
If budget's not an issue, what I would love to see is my Big 5 functional medicine labs. So a hair tissue mineral analysis. The reason that I want to see this is minerals are our spark plugs in life, as well as they buffer stress for us. So this shows me how stressed the body is, as well as how that stress is affecting the body. It's just a simple hair snip. as well as, again, we talked about the gut. Everything takes a back burner to stress, and our immune system, 70% of our immune system is produced in our gut. All of this stuff, we're on a gut brain loop, is going on in our gut. And again, if I can't break down my food properly, I'm not extracting the nutrients that I need in order for all of those biochemical reactions to work every single day. So I want to see just an at-home urine sample. That's super awesome to see. And again, I want to see that saliva test that's going to show me, yes, your TSH, your T3. Oh, I know what I was going to say. In integrative health, we look at things through a different scope as well. So I'm addressing a problem before it becomes a problem. So your TSH, I'm looking, if you have symptoms, I'm going to go ahead and start addressing at a 2. If you don't have symptoms, at least a 2.5 instead of a 4 or 4.5 like conventional medicine, because I want to prevent the screaming. I want to hear the whisper. So I'm looking at that saliva test that's going to show me thyroid adrenal hormone. It's going to show me the TSH. It's going to show me my estrogen to progesterone ratio, my DHEAs, 4-point cortisol test, TSH, testosterone. What else did I not say? Vitamin D3. That's all in that saliva lab right there. I'm also looking at a food sensitivity lab of almost 200 different foods to know your specific sensitivity. So just because you're eating something that's healthy doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy for your body, especially if there's a gut dysbiosis where your body can't break it down properly. And then the hair lab also is going to show me toxic metals as well. And then an omega-3 inflammation lab to see where our inflammation levels are, because heart disease is the number one killer of women. If we can get your omega-3 to 6 ratio where it needs to be, we can reduce the risk of all cardiovascular disease related death. There we go. Say that 5 times fast. I can't. By 90%. So that's a huge one too. So if I can, I want to see all of those labs instead of, it could be a heavy metal toxicity that's throwing this off. Well, it could be a gut issue that's throwing this off. Well, it could be this. Basically, genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And yes, lifestyle because of what we do, but also from the toxins in our environment, so many that we can't control. So that's why when somebody's like, hey, I have Graves' disease. Okay, so just because one person has Graves' disease and another person has Graves' disease, it's not always necessarily the same cause that's causing it. So that's why we need to look specifically at what's going on for you, your specific toxicities, your specific deficiencies, in order to eliminate those toxicities and replace those deficiencies.
Yes. So much yes. So if somebody can't do the big 5, what would be the bare minimum?
Again, it depends on symptoms. Normally, what I do with a client is I get them to do a 100-ish question intake form. It's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot, but I want to know everything. And then I want to piece together the puzzle and see exactly what you need. Normally, if I can only pick one lab, I want to see a hair tissue mineral analysis, because everything takes a back burner to stress, like we talked about. And those minerals give us our energy, like our spark plugs for life, but they also buffer that stress. So that's normally where I start to get the minerals right, in order to be able to do all that we need to do to reduce that stress. Then we can go into the gut, and that stress affects, of course, thyroid adrenal hormone. So that's what we're looking at normally first. Again, depending on symptoms though, but if somebody is, dealing with major digestive issues, we might start with a gut lab first or something like that. So it really depends on what's going on.
Okay. So now I have a question. I don't even have it with me. I once got a hair tissue mineral analysis for free, and I never did it because I was worried about cutting my hair. Like the box says like cut this much, and like it had a scale of how much I needed, but I have long hair and I was so worried. So give us some tips on that, because like I know the value of that test. I mean, I didn't. It was free, which made it a little easier to toss it in the garbage. But the biggest thing was cutting my hair. And I did not want to do that. It really worried me. So give us some tips to make that less scary.
Let's play show and tell. It's one of my favorite games. I also washed my hair yesterday. Yesterday was a hair washing day. That's the only reason that we're doing this, but I'm going to show you how we kind of get around that. I probably have a crease from working out earlier, but I mean, my hair is pretty long. Like, yeah, it's not short. But what you're going to do, because I'm in my spinny chair, is I like to get somebody else to do it for me. And we want to make sure when we do a hair tissue mineral analysis that it's at least 6 weeks after getting our hair colored. Most women get their hair colored, if they do color their hair, every 6 weeks. So when you get your hair colored, it's a great idea just to get your hairdresser to do it. She's probably not going to mind. She's probably going to be like, wait, what are you doing? I want to know more. Mine always does. So literally, tell me if you can't hear me. We're going to get in right in here. And I take a couple different strands from right here, right here, right here. I don't know if you heard me, but break it up and in different parts throughout the hair. So it's not like I'm getting like one big, hunk or anything like that. And normally for a hair tissue mineral analysis, we only want the root because we want to see what comes out in the past 3 to 4 months. I want to say total, it might be maybe this much hair, depending on how thick your hair is. But if we split that up in a couple different sections, you honestly can't even tell. I've done mine maybe 4 or 5 times, and you can't tell. Just get it in the middle towards the back.
Okay, that makes it so much easier. And for everybody who's just listening, I will have this up on YouTube because interviews, I do video. But if you're listening, she put up her hair in a half pony and then took it from a couple spots right underneath the part for the half pony. That makes it so much more I wish I would have had that video. I would have done the hair tissue analysis, but I was freaked out. And so I just opted not to do it. So maybe now I'll have to do one.
Most women are, especially if you're dealing with hair loss issues from thyroid issues. So if you are, there is other places you can get hair. You can use body hair or something like that. It just normally doesn't show us what we need, and you have to take so much. It normally doesn't work. But if that's our only option, then that's our only option. So I know it's many men are bald. So what do we do there? So
interesting. I didn't even think about that. I'll take it from my hair, from my head.
Yeah, well, kind of so hard to do, but you have to maybe grow out a patch or something.
Why do you have a patch of hair on your leg?
Why do you have one hairy knee? Well, I'm doing it. It's a great conversation start. It's a great at the beach, I'm sure.
Right?
Cool day with your kids. They're splashing along, and
we would do it in the winter. I mean, let's be honest. We'll do it in the winter.
That's fair. Good call.
Yes. I have learned so much, and I know my listeners have. But for the woman who is listening right now, she's tired, she's overwhelmed, she's not getting answers. Like you said, a decade of diagnoses and everything from the doctor. What is the one thing that you want her to remember from our conversation today?
One thing. Let me just give you hope that you can heal holistically. And if you can remember one thing, everything takes a back burner to stress. Your body's not broken. It's trying to tell you something. We just have to figure out what should be in your body that's not, and what shouldn't be in your body that is.
Yes. Yes. And so if somebody wants to connect with you and work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can find me on social media at Brea Sharron Fitness on pretty much all of the platforms, but also I have a free holistic health, wellness, and weight loss Facebook group that has about 1,000 members in there. That's a great way to connect with me as well, to get a bunch of my free resources and continue that conversation even deeper and talk about you and your specific needs.
Very cool. I will have that link in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.